Hey guys, Coach Britt. So in the next couple videos, I'm going to attempt to break down carbs, protein, and fats in a manner that can be easily understood, in my opinion. Today in the first video, we're going to talk a little bit about fats, the good fats, the bad fats, and some good takeaway action points that you can run with to live a healthier life. So let's talk first about unhealthy fats. So what are unhealthy fats? Typically, it's those that are industrial processed and designed to be non-perishable. So you know what non-perishable means, right? It means they won't go bad. If you set them on the shelf, they will not go bad over a certain period of time. So some examples of these might be your trans fatty acids. You might see that on the label. Those are something that appears in processed foods. Made to be your hydrogenated fats. This would be like margarine. So what hydrogenated fats are is it's hydrogen is added to the fat chain to make a normally liquid and perishable fat into a solid and shelf-stable fat. So essentially what that means is they're chemically modifying something that would normally go bad in a period of time into something that can sit on the shelf and maintain and not go bad during a period of time. And some of your other unhealthy fats would be most of your shelf-stable cooking oils, so that would be like your safflower oil, your corn oil, soybean oil, etc. So with these unhealthier fats that we're talking about here, also known as the saturated fats, if you're looking at the labels, this would be like your animal fats, which would be like your beef, lamb, pork, poultry, or your whole milk options like your cheese, butter, ice cream. Generally, these items would be solid at room temperature. So like think cooking oil that turns solid when it cools down, like you're frying a pan of something, and then once you're done it sits on the stove for about an hour, and then when you come back to it, instead of that oily texture, it now has like a white solid texture to it. That would be your saturated fats. And this is also the visible white fat on cuts of meat. So it's like that blubbery white fat that you bite into on a big hunk of steak. All right, now bear with me now. On the other side, we have our unsaturated fats. So these are also known as the healthier fats. Okay, but this is where it gets kind of tricky because it's healthy in moderation. So as we look into unsaturated fats, we got polyunsaturated, and then we got our monounsaturated. So when we're looking at the polyunsaturated, this is where it can get kind of confusing. So we got our omega-6s, and then we got our omega-3s. So the omega-3s are like your flaxseed, your fish oil, and then omega-6s are most of your seed oils, like your sunflower, your safflower, etc. Now, a minute ago I may have said that sunflower, safflower are more of an unhealthy fat. So now look at this. Now omega-6s, they actually recommend you reduce those. Whereas your omega-3s, they recommend you increase those. Okay, so the omega-6s, when eaten in moderation and in place of the saturated fats found in your meats and dairies, etc., the omega-6 fatty acids can be good for your heart. So they can be good for you, but the keyword is in moderation. All right? And then the other kind of unsaturated fats, we got our monounsaturated. Now this is our olive oil, avocados, peanuts, almonds. So this is also known as a healthy fat. But again, in moderation. You don't want to get a whole jar of almonds and finish it in one setting. That would easily make a healthy fat turn into an unhealthy fat pretty fast. Okay, because just the amount of content you're taking into your body in one sitting. So a better definition of unsaturated fats would be relatively unprocessed fats from whole foods. Okay, so relatively unprocessed fats from whole foods. So now that we've talked a little bit about the different types of fat, let's talk a little bit about the basics of fat. Okay, so the fat that we consume, so when we eat that meat or we eat those eggs, it is digested, and then it's either used for energy and exercise or daily movement, stored in your fat tissue, aka making the scale go up, okay, or incorporated into other tissues or body organs. So many of our body tissues are fat-based, including our brains, the fatty sheet that insulates our nervous system. Our nervous system is our communication system in the body, like the brain communicating with the arms to, I want to move my arm now, okay, that type of thing. And then our cell membranes. So fat can affect signaling molecules that influence blood vessel constriction, inflammation in the body, pain in the body, blood clotting, airway constriction. So intaking of this fat can affect the signaling that creates all this stuff happening in the body. So again, that's like the blood vessel, the inflammation, pain, blood clotting, airway constriction. Okay, fat affects all of that. So since our brains are fat-based, changes in fat composition can affect transmission of the nervous system impulses. Okay, so again, that's the brain talking to the body, the different arms talking to the legs, the communication within the body when we move and function in everyday life. Okay, so since our brains are fat-based, changes in the fat that we consume in our diet can affect the transmission of those different impulses moving throughout the body. That sounds pretty intense, right? The amount of fat we eat can actually impact how our body functions and communicates with itself, etc. So it's for this reason that balancing the fat intake can promote optimal function of our entire body. So we wanna kind of look at what we're taking in for fat, what's good, what's bad, and maybe adjust a couple things. So a couple of considerations when looking at that saturated fat, the unhealthier versions of fat. By being able to identify the different examples of saturated fat, we can easily reduce it in our diet, right? So first off, when cooking meat, you can choose a leaner cut of meat with less visible fat. You can cut some of the fat off, that white blubbery looking stuff on your meat. You can just take a knife and cut it off. That'll help things out. With poultry, you could eat it skinless. Also, saturated fats seem to float at the top of soups and different stews, so you can skim that off of the top before eating. With dairy products, you could choose low-fat or non-fat varieties. And obviously with baked goods and desserts, you can check the labels out just to see what's on those labels and see if you can recognize some of these terms that I labeled that may indicate that it may not be the healthiest. So now we've talked a little bit about the bad fats, the good fats, the reasons we should stay away from the bad fats or cut them down a little bit. Now let's talk a little bit about those healthier fats, okay, and some of the benefits behind them. So there's actually pretty strong evidence that says that having enough fat will help keep you full between meals. So in the middle of the day when you're starting to get hungry, a little handful of almonds can actually help make you feel satisfied until supper. There's also strong evidence that can help with cardiovascular protection, okay? So with the heart, again, this is in moderation, okay? We don't want to eat a whole jar of almonds. It's one serving, okay? There's also strong evidence that can help alleviate depression, okay? You might want to look into that if that's something you struggle with. There's research that indicates that. Also, we need the adequate fat to support metabolism, cell signaling in the body. Again, that's that communication within the body when we function and walk around in everyday life. Immunity and not getting sick all the time. Hormone production and the health of various tissues in the body. And lastly, also the absorption of many vitamins, such as like vitamin A and vitamin D. On another note, there's average evidence. So the other ones have strong evidence against them. This one has average evidence that it may help prevent cancers, preserve memory, preserve your eye health, and also it can even reduce ADHD, ADD. There is some research out there. So take a look into some of these and consider changing the types of fat you're eating in your everyday life. All right, to summarize this up, you may be saying, all right, Britt, that's awesome. That's a lot of really cool little tidbits, but what are some actionable steps that I can take out of this video? Well, first, let's make sure you're getting a mix of fat types from whole, unprocessed, high-quality foods. So these might be examples like nuts, seeds, your hemp, flax, chia seeds, fish, pasture-raised, grass-fed animals or eggs, olives, your avocado, your coconut, things like that. So take a look at your diet and see if some of those items are included in your meal planning, and also look at the Look at the serving sizes that are included in your meal plan. With that, avoid those industrial processed, artificially created, and factory farmed foods which contain those unhealthy fats. And on a strong note, you may want to consider supplementing with the fish oil daily. So like your 3 to 6 grams of fish oil daily. Take a look. We have some SFH brands, some Life Extension brands at FF. Let us know if this is something you are interested in including in your daily diet, or if you want some more information about it, the benefits. Also, feel free to do your own research. Look it up and see the benefits of that fish oil daily. Lastly, I can't stress this enough. Keep it simple. Don't worry too much about the exact percentages and grams of the fat you're taking in. Just take a look and see if some of those examples of the healthier fats are included in your diet. And then, again, on the other end of it, take a look at those unhealthier fats that are included in your diet and maybe try to transition some of those into the healthier versions. Or take some of those examples I did of cutting some of the unhealthy fats off of your meat, or skimming the top of your soup or your stews. Stuff like that can make a big difference. Alright guys, there you have it. The ins and outs of your healthy and your unhealthy fats. Let me know if there's any other questions that we can help you with, if something didn't make sense, if you have further questions or ideas on this matter. And then stay tuned. Coming up in the next videos, there's going to be one on protein and one on carbs to kind of link these all together and just help make it all make more sense. All right? So, looking forward to seeing you guys around the gym. Have a great day.